Welcome back. Today we're talking about such an important topic. It is what is going on college campuses this year after Operation Protective Edge and how it's escalated on the campus and mainly pushed out by a group called Students for Justice in Palestine, that is SJP, and their different tactics on the campus, which in many ways is promoting hate on campus. There have been a few articles written. We wrote one about SJP's activities. You can Google it, SJP, Roz Rothstein, Max Samaroff. We wrote one that is pretty comprehensive about the things they do on campuses. We're just, during the break, talking about what we've seen at Berkeley, what we've seen going on with Johanna Wilder and Jennifer Halperin, are two professionals at Stand With Us that work on college campuses in California. So back with you, Johanna. We were talking about what happened at Berkeley about a month ago, was it?
Just about.
A day of action brought to the campus by Hatem Bazian, right? He called for a day of action on campuses across the country. And so what happened at Berkeley?
Well, first of all, it's important to mention that he's a professor at UC Berkeley. Some of our students are in his classes. I mean, it's scary to have your professor say some of the things that he does. It makes you very uncomfortable in your courses, and these students are afraid to speak up. And what happened on the day of action that he called for is he spoke in front of the campus, like in their main quad area, and there's no reason to even repeat what he said. He was just spewing lies and hatred, and I was really proud to see our students come together, and they all sat together with their books and they did a study and they wanted to show how important it is for our students to feel protected and open about their education, because what he was wanting to do is completely cut ties with any sort of Israeli education, working with universities in Israel. So they put tape over their mouths and showed what it would look like to silence education. And that's the point of going to school. It's important to feel, open and safe on your campus. And when you have a professor that is so incredibly biased and shows it freely, it's scary for them. And
so the professors have credibility, and it's kind of confusing for students, especially people that don't know and don't care about Israel. They're sitting in a classroom hearing all these bad things from a guy like Hatem Bazian. But I wanted to take a moment and let the audience see what a divestment hearing looks like. And many professors like Hatem Bazian actually show up at these hearings and make presentations to the student council. What you're about to see are students from Justice in Palestine making crazy presentations to try to get the student council to vote against Israel, to vote to divest funds from companies doing business in Israel, which will never happen anyways. But this is the point they're making on that campus. So take a look at this video. It is very disturbing, what you're about to see, and then we'll be right back.
Today we are discussing Israel, the last standing apartheid state of our time.
Israel, through its war crimes, has divested from humanity. So tonight, humanity itself must divest from Israeli war crimes.
The state of Israel has already been criticized for systemically giving Ethiopian women vaccines that permanently sterilize them.
Zionism is a negation of the principles of Judaism.
Organ harvesting that's happening in the Sinai Desert, which happens with the knowledge of the Israeli government.
With a vote of 20 to 12 to 1, that passes.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
So that video is really disturbing. I mean, that you didn't hear laughter in the room about sterilizing, that Israel sterilizes people of color. You didn't hear laughter about Israel stealing organs from people. It was quiet. You didn't hear the laughter. And then in the end, that student council voted to divest funds from Israel. I mean, they actually bought some of this garbage. What do you make of that?
You were saying, you know, they're not actually going to divest from these companies, but it's not even about that. I mean, these students that are on student council, those are the ones who are going to go on to politics and be in government later on, you know, and if they're hearing these things, whether they believe it or not, this is something that's in the back of their mind. So when they are dealing with Israel relations later on in their political, you know, careers, this is something that sticks with them. And it's so important that we, you know, that we do have our students who that are speaking up at these hearings. I mean, it's really, really important. So whether they divest or not, the whole idea behind it is really scary.
And it's easier said than done, because not only do we need to find students that are willing to stand up for themselves and for Israel, it takes a lot of bravery to do that. Again, the SJP movement is very large. There are hundreds of people that show up to these BDS trials. It's not just students. They bring in community members and students from all over the region, and they're very well organized. So you have isolated students on a college campus versus a huge movement of SJP professionals, community members, students. So it takes a lot of bravery, and it takes a lot. That's why education is so important. So not only do our students need to be educated themselves, but they need to be confident enough to be able to rely that information onto their school senate. And it's hard. It's very hard.
They have professors that go to these meetings as well, and it's not just the bravery that our students need to have. They're scared of their grades. You know, if they say something that their professor might not agree with, their grade is then in danger. And what's the point of being at school than your classes? I mean, it's really tough for our students to stand up.
It's a certain kind of oppression. It's a certain kind of oppression of the voice that would be pro-Israel on a college campus. It really is profound.
It's more than just pro-Israel. It's pro-human rights. I mean, it's gone much far beyond this already.
So, needless to say, we need to continue doing our good work, and you guys are amazing. So I want to thank you publicly for all the good work that you do on your campuses with your students. I want to encourage our audience. We need more people. We have now one of the largest campus professional group teams across the country and also in Canada. And we continue to grow because people like you support our efforts, and I hope that you will continue to do so. And if you're not already, please join our Stand With Us family and support us, because this could not be more important. This year, we need a lot of support for the students. And so thank you for being with us and for making sure that Israel's voice is heard on campus, and that in a good way, in a positive way, about all of the gifts that Israel shares with the world, and in a way that needs to challenge misinformation, that we're there to be a partner to the students. And by the way, we do not encourage students to stand up by themselves and be these lone wolves that, you know, take on all the bad guys. It's not something that we do. One of the greatest gifts that we give to them is a network of students that care about Israel and are willing to be courageous on the campus. We call them campus champions. But, you know, that's one of the greatest gifts that we can give them, each other, and our mentorship and materials and funding and speakers. That's what we do, and ideas, so that they can stand strong at a time when they're being very, very pushed. And for all those students out there and all those grandparents and parents of students out there, thank you for bringing your kids up right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on JLTV.